Guten Morgen, which in German means good morning to all of you Groundhoppers out there. Welcome to the fourth episode in the Around the Ground series of podcasts brought to you by Groundhopper Soccer Guides. My name is Brian Reinhardt, and after bestowing his knowledge of Italy last episode, we're switching tracks. We're going to head over to Eastern Europe. Today, we're talking Germany, German football. Paul, we're going to be talking all that good stuff and much, much more in this episode. I hope you're excited for this episode.
I am. Yeah. Germany's a great place to travel and great place to see games.
Now, last episode, it was a fun time. Obviously, you had an extensive knowledge of Italy. We're testing you a little bit today with Germany. You haven't been there as many times or know as much, but I mean, it's just a fantastic place to visit. I've been there twice myself. I want to go back. I wanted to go to the Christmas markets next time. Have you been to the Christmas markets in Germany?
I've not been to the Christmas markets. I decided to go to Germany when the weather was good.
Okay.
So I was there in August and early September and went to a game. Let's see, I went to one at Bayern Munich. I went to one at Dortmund, went to Bayer Leverkusen, went to Borussia Mönchengladbach. I hope I pronounced that one correctly. And there seems like there might have been another team in there someplace, but no, it's a great country because it's all very, it's a very modern country. The trains are great. Everything works, I mean, things work in other places, but in Italy, there's always this kind of edge of like slight chaos going on in Italy. There's no chaos in Germany. They don't do that. No, it's great. And really nice stadiums. And, but no, I've not been to the Christmas markets. Maybe when I move to Europe, I'll get over and report on that.
That kind of leads us in. I think you got to know your answer for this one, but when you talked about clients going over to Germany, what do you think, what time of year would be good for people to go over to Germany and take in a game?
Well, one thing to keep in mind, especially compared to England, where most of our clients go, is in England, the holiday season is a big, big deal. Mm-hmm. The festive period with Boxing Day games and New Year's Day and the third round of the FA Cup. And in Germany, they take all that time off. There is a big winter break in Germany that's about a month long, and they don't come back till like late January. It's just too cold, even for Germans, I guess. It's too cold. So that means that they play a little bit later in the season. So I would say anything August through about October, November is going to be basically nice, and then starting again in about March, but even then it's a big country, lots of variety of everything. So it's not like the whole place is a sheet of ice for 2 months in the middle of winter. It's just going to be chilly. So yeah, I would say fall and spring for sure.
Okay. So. And you touched on it a little bit earlier. You named the clubs really quick, but maybe tell people listening today, where have you been in Germany? What clubs, what cities, just what were your experiences like?
Sure. So the first place I went was Bayern Munich, which of course is in Munich, which is kind of the southern part. I had come on a train from Innsbruck, Austria, which was maybe only a couple hours. So there's no mountains in Munich, but you're not too far from the Alps. And of course, Munich, very popular, wonderful place to visit as a tourist with the beer gardens and the famous old square and everything. It's just a very lovely city with a beautiful modern stadium out on the edge of town. It is not in the middle of town. It's out by an expressway across from a wind energy farm. It's not the most romantic setting in the world, but it's a beautiful stadium. And I took a tour there and I saw them lose to Mönchengladbach. And that's where I began to understand the differences between levels and types of anger among European football supporters. The Germans just seemed outraged and confused that Bayern was losing at home. And Italians like they're going to kill themselves, and Spanish people just shrug it off and go home. It's just a different vibe. And in English people, they just stick around to hurl abuse at the team as long as they possibly can. So, but anyway, so that was Munich, and I was there, about September. Weather was great. Then I went to a game at Dortmund. Dortmund as a city, I hope I don't offend anybody, but I don't think a tourist would go to Dortmund unless you were into soccer. But if you're into soccer, you got to go to Dortmund. Yeah. For one thing, of course, the stadium is one of the most famous. It's the biggest in Germany. I think it holds 82,000 people. The background picture here is the famous South the yellow wall of the south
Yeah.
stand at that stadium that holds about 30,000 people all standing. And so just for perspective, the Kop at Liverpool is a very famous stand. It's less than half the size of the yellow wall. And the yellow wall is all standing. So it is an immense experience to be around in front of that thing. Dortmund, also the city, is home to the National Football Museum. So that's worth a visit. Otherwise, yeah, you go to Dortmund, and if nothing else, you just marvel at how much beer and sausage 82,000 people can consume before a game. It is industrial. It is really amazing. And then the thing about traveling in Germany is, obviously Berlin is a big tourist spot. Munich is a big tourist spot. Some of the other places around, but there's not often a lot of overlap between where are the Bundesliga teams and where would you be going as a tourist anyway. Unlike in Italy, you're talking about Rome, Florence, Milan, Venice, or not Venice, but Torino, all these places. Nobody's going to go to Cologne is kind of a tourist spot. And there's a cluster of teams and cities right around there. Dortmund, Cologne, Bayer Leverkusen, Mönchengladbach. I'm going to forget some, but there's a cluster of teams. Schalke is over there. So a lot of the German teams you've heard of are in the Rhineland, in the western part of the country, this big industrial heartland of Germany. It's not the most interesting place to visit as a tourist, but to be based there for a few days and going to football, amazing. So yeah, those are the places that I've been. And yeah, so. and we sell tickets at Munich, Dortmund, and Leverkusen.
Okay. You touched on some big clubs right there. And obviously, we got to talk German Bundesliga, 18 teams, top tier German soccer. I tell you what, if you look at the standings this year, some casual fans might not understand what's going on. The ringleader, they ain't at the top. What's kind of going on with the Bundesliga this year and the results?
Yeah, normally Bayern Munich wins it like 9 or 10 years in a row. I think they just kind of like PSG in France, and maybe like Manchester City's becoming in England. We'll find out. But yeah, Dortmund or Munich just steamrolls the league most years. And last year they barely pulled it out because Dortmund did not win their last home game of the season. So Munich pulled it out that way. But yeah, this year, all of a sudden, Bayer Leverkusen is up on top of the league with the manager who used to play at Liverpool, and everybody thinks he's probably a hot candidate to replace Jurgen Klopp at Liverpool. Xabi Alonso is his name. And I have not seen this year's Leverkusen team play, so I don't really know exactly what they've got going on, but it's obviously pretty amazing. And so that is a hot place now that people want to go. In fact, as we record this, they're about to host Bayern Munich. I think February the 10th or 11th, Bayern is going there. So that'll be a big, big game. So yeah, we could just talk a little bit about Leverkusen. Leverkusen is the city. Bayer, B-A-Y-E-R. This sometimes confuses people because there's Bayern Munich. Okay. Bayern in that sense means like a person of Bavaria, which is where Munich is. Bayer, B-A-Y-E-R, it's probably related, but it's not even in Bavaria. That is a chemical manufacturing company, as in Bayer aspirin here in the United States. In fact, if you ever see the logo of Bayer Leverkusen and put it next to your bottle of Bayer aspirin, same thing. That is a company team. And that is where they're in Leverkusen, a completely nondescript city, but a beautiful modern stadium. And really lovely, two-tier stadium, mostly uncovered seats, really nice neighborhood and everything, just not a whole lot else going on around there, but beautiful, comfortable stadium. And we sell a few different types of seats there. And like I say, I did it as a day trip. I stayed in Cologne. And I went to Dortmund one day and back to Cologne on the train. And then I went to Leverkusen, and then I went to Mönchengladbach. So, that was all while staying in Cologne, which is a beautiful, beautiful city.
Absolutely. Yeah. And you kind of touched on it too, but we talked about the crowds in England, a little bit different from the crowds in Italy. You talked about environment, and just looking at the background picture today, I think Germany probably a lot different than England fans too. What's the atmosphere like for German football fans?
Well, like Italy and France and Spain and all of these, they all have the kind of ultras section behind a goal. So obviously at Dortmund, that's the yellow wall. Bayern Munich, I've forgotten the name that they call themselves, but yeah, everywhere you go in Germany, there's going to be a bunch of flag waving and a bunch of jumping and shouting and drums and right behind one of the goals. And I found the atmosphere there to be quite good. Bayern Munich is a little bit like Manchester City in the sense that they kind of expect to win. It's like this big, modern, comfortable stadium, and they win everything. So it's not always rambunctious, I would say. But they have a great thing when they score. When they score a goal, all these lights go off, and it's a very modern, high-tech stadium. And then you hear Fred Flintstone say "Yabba Dabba Doo," and then they play like the Beer Barrel polka song, and everybody waves their scarves and goes crazy. So. Is good. It's not. It doesn't feel to me as sort of aggressive as it does in England, and it's not quite as maybe passionate and off the rails as Italy and even Spain can be. But it's good, and the stadiums, the ones that I was in, quite full. Mönchengladbach gets 50,000 people a game, and they haven't won anything like forever. So no, it's quite good. I enjoy it. One thing just to keep in mind, if you're used to going to England, the travel times are quite different. Yeah. Like Munich over to Cologne, I think was like a 5 or 6 hour train ride, whereas London to Manchester is 2. So you're not bouncing around as much, you kind of have to pick your spots.
And of course, at Groundhopper Soccer Guides, Paul and his team want to get fans to the game, but plain and simple, they make that process easy. They want to help set you up for a trip of a lifetime. Paul, I've asked you this every time, but it's just good knowledge to get it out there. How do you guys get the tickets? How do you guys help fans? And where in Germany are you sending people right now?
Sure. So the way we get tickets is we are what's called a registered agent of an authorized reseller. The words get confusing, but a reseller is somebody who goes to the club and signs a contract and says, here's a bunch of money and we'll take 200 tickets or whatever to every home game. And then they own those tickets. And then they use people like us, registered agents, to resell those tickets. So if we say we have tickets to Bayern Munich, we don't have like a stack of them sitting on our desk here, but we are authorized to go and purchase them from the official holders who got them from the club. So that is the case for us at Bayern Munich, at Dortmund, and at Bayer Leverkusen. And really, most of the people, if it's your first trip to Germany, yeah, you're going to go to Bayern Munich, you're going to go to Dortmund. Why wouldn't you? So part of why we want to do these videos and just kind of talk about Germany is like, look, if you're in, like when I went to Dortmund, I don't know if it was a coincidence. It may not have been, but they played one night, Leverkusen the next night, and Mönchengladbach the next night, and they're all within 50 miles of each other. So it's like that worked out pretty well. But then there's 2 teams in Berlin right now. One, Union Berlin, is in the Bundesliga, and Hertha Berlin, who also play at the Olympic Stadium there in the second division. There's some really interesting clubs in the second division. Hamburg, who is a former European champion, they're in the second division. St. Pauli, which is a very famous kind of rebel club, also in Hamburg, they're in the second division. Hertha Berlin is in the second. So, it's there's a lot of football to choose from. And we should talk too about this summer, 2024.
You're setting me up here. I mean, this is
right.
perfect. This was perfect timing. We're doing this podcast. Last newsletter Groundhopper Soccer Guys had. Great news. You guys are able to sell tickets to the European Championships this summer happening in Germany. Talk about, Euros. That would be my dream trip right there, is just to get a Euros. How did that come about? How excited are you guys for this opportunity to try to get people to Euros this summer?
We're really excited, not just to get people, but to go. I'm gonna go. 2 of us are gonna go to the opening game, Scotland against Germany in Munich, and if only to see how many Scottish people are going to show up in Munich in the middle of June, and what kind of hell are they going to raise? And then the next day we're going to go to Berlin and see Spain play Croatia, and a few days later I'm going to go down to Schalke and see Spain play Italy. Who wants to watch Spain play Italy? Everybody. So yeah, we're really excited. And yeah, I know people who've been to World Cups and the European Championships, and they actually enjoy the European Championships more because it's very compact. Germany will handle it very well. And so getting around and seeing all the games, and it's so much easier. If Poland make the quarterfinals, like there's a lot of people from Poland that are just going to roll into Germany and make a big party, whether they have tickets or not. So the atmosphere is supposed to be really something amazing. The challenge is hotels. We can also sell hotels. We can sell tickets with and without hotels. And the tickets are basically 4 different categories. So it's like category 4, you're up there someplace. In category 3, you're behind the goal. In category 2, you're in the corner. And category 1, you're on the side. And if you need a hotel, we can help with that as well.
That just sounds real exciting. We hope we want you guys to get over there too. Experience Germany. You didn't even mention schnitzel and all this other food too.
It goes on and on. Yeah. Sausage and schnitzel, and it's the summer, right? We're talking mid-June to mid-July. So a lot of people go to Europe anyway. And so we're like, why don't you join one of the biggest parties happening in all of Europe this entire summer and get yourself to Germany and go to a game? It almost doesn't matter which. But even then, some of the games you might not really think about. Like you look at I think it's Albania playing Croatia. And it's in the world of soccer, like who cares? I think those two are neighbors down there in that corner of Europe, and they don't like each other. There's a chance of Greece playing Turkey. Which apparently is like an all-time, there's some serious history between those two countries. So some of these matchups and, some of the players that you're going to get to see, just kind of amazing when you start to realize where all these players are from and who exactly is on the French national team and the Dutch national team. France and the Netherlands are in the same group. They're going to play. So that's an appealing game. Yeah. So yeah, between the tourist infrastructure, the weather, the nice stadiums. Germany is, for a lot of Americans, a bit under the radar in soccer travel, but it really shouldn't be.
I think you sold a lot of people in this episode. This was exciting.
I love it when people decide to go to a game and have a good time. It's why the whole company exists. So.
That's another great country covered. Paul, thank you for sharing your knowledge of Germany, and hopefully we got some fans excited. They're going to book their trips. As we get out of here, tell fans how they can reach you guys at Groundhopper Soccer Guides.
It's groundhopperguides.com, right down there at the bottom of the screen, and check the notes in the description down below. And look around our YouTube videos. We got videos from all these different places that we've been, and other vodcasts here. And just keep coming around.
I want to thank everybody for tuning into this episode of the Around the Grounds podcast. We look forward to bringing you future episodes very soon, and hopefully Groundhopper Soccer Guides will see you at the grounds.